You're listening to Recap with the Mayor with City of Wayzata Mayor Ken Willcox and Dan Gustafson of Wayzata.com. Brought to you by J&K Creative. For the best in corporate, wedding, event, or senior portrait services, call John Wright at 952-473-0201. And by John Rotai at M&I Mortgage. Call John at 952-697-4516 for all your residential lending needs.
Ken Willcox speaking.
Mayor Willcox, this is Dan Gustafson calling.
Dan, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
Glad to hear it. How goes the battle today?
Well, you're looking for a recap?
I am looking for a recap.
Okay. Well, as you know, last night was our local Board of Appeals and Equalization, so taxation issues took up a good chunk of the meeting. Actually, it was a sort of a calmer night on the tax front than normal because we only had 3 people that came forward.
How many people typically come forward on a...
Oh gosh, I've seen a dozen, I've seen 20. During the period where the home values were galloping, we had a lot of people that came in, and now it's going the other way. In fact, most of the properties in the Lake Minnetonka area have come down, and I think that's mollifying a lot of the response. The ones that we had last night thought that there were mitigating circumstances that should have dropped their value even more than they had been dropped. And that's a phenomenon that we aren't familiar with seeing, so it was a little bit hard for our board to deal with it. In both cases, of the 2 that were not reduced, we recommended that they be further appealed to Hennepin County, thinking that they might have more experience with that kind of thing. Anyway, so it was a little less arduous than it has been in the past, but these things are always difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that took up quite a bit of time. After that, we dealt with a couple of variance requests. One was just to extend the time frame of a variance. I think we're going to get more of these where economic situation has changed. And
what would be an example of something like that? Where they're building and they need...
Help
us understand that.
The one in particular was a variance that we had granted a year ago for a garage extension. And what the family requested was that we extend the time frame for another year because the economic conditions had made it difficult for them to proceed with the rebuilding and all of the expense related to that right now. So that's the kind of thing that I think we're going to... I mean, at the Bay Center was the same deal. We granted them approval, and they wound up running into problems getting financing, and so they had to push it off for another year. So I think we're going to see more of that.
Mm-hmm.
There was another request for a variance on a garage that we chose not to approve. There was some bonding that we had to approve, bonding for the water treatment plant, water for road construction, and a refunding of one of our tax increment bonds that we think we could get a better deal on because interest rates have come down.
Why do they call it refunding as opposed to refinancing when you're in the bond market or in the municipal bond market? Do we know that?
I don't. It's just a term, but that's basically what's happening. We're calling a bond and reissuing it at a lower rate.
Okay.
Then part of that discussion dealt with the telecommunications equipment that's at the base of the water tower that's in fairly close proximity to some of the houses around there, and it's not a wonderful neighbor. It's an eyesore. It has noise issues as well, and we've talked to the neighborhood about moving that further away from some of the houses and screening it. The price tag for doing that right now is a little higher than we'd like to swallow. It could be $250,000, $300,000. We think we could get the job done over time, having the vendors themselves pay for it, and so that's kind of where we're thinking we'll head at the moment. So we did not include that $250,000 or $300,000 in the bonding that we were doing for the water treatment plant at this point. We discussed the East neighborhood closure. That went on again for a
Yes, it does.
Where you live. We're still interested in doing something, but we want to make sure that the neighborhood is fully behind it. And so, because we also got the price tag for doing it, which could be $30,000-$40,000 just for the study. So, we at the previous meeting we had about 20 people show up, and most of them, like 18 or 19 out of the 20, were in favor of closing off the roads. But we hesitated to assume that the rest of the neighborhood was representative, or that this 20 was representative of the full neighborhood. So what we're doing is we're going out with a survey or ballot or whatever to ask the neighborhood to weigh in, all the neighborhood that lives in that area that's going to be affected, to make sure that we have at least more than half that want to put up with this, even the inconvenience of the test itself, which could go on for much of the summer in one phase or another. So we're going to start with that, and if that's approved, we would proceed with the stages of the road closure to see what happens and what the workarounds are and so on.
Mm-hmm. You did you authorized some advertising for street construction shortly thereafter. What should we know about that?
Well, okay. What we did is we authorized the street construction of what had been planned in our capital improvement project, and what we were authorizing was just notifying those neighborhoods that road repair is going to happen in their areas.
I see.
Okay. Let's see, what else did we do? Well, that was about it. The biggest thing probably on the horizon is our budget situation.
You indicated last night that there's going to be a shortfall of $200,000 or $300,000.
Yeah, and this gets back to the postponed developments going on in town, like the Bay Center and so on. There is no development activity happening in Wayzata right now. It's come to a kind of a screeching halt with this economy. And the bad news associated with that is that the city gets fees from those developments. We get engineering fees, we get planning fees, we get all kinds of things. The support that we provide to the developers, we bill them for. Well, we had in our budget assumed or cranked in a figure for those kinds of fees that's normal, that we normally get, and we're not getting this year. And so the shortfall at this point looks to be somewhere between maybe $250,000 to $300,000. So we're going to have a workshop of the council next Tuesday afternoon to dig into the budget and see what we can do to make up for that.
Mostly cost cutting, or?
It's got to be mostly cost cutting. Yeah.
And how about Kent Howe?
Well, we recognize Kent Howe's 12 years of service on the Planning Commission through thick and through thin. He's been one of the stalwarts over the years, and we just wanted to recognize that service, and we presented him with a proclamation and his old name tag as a planning commissioner, and thanked him for his service.
You're looking to do some twittering as the city of Wayzata.
Well, there was an article in the paper. I don't know if you saw it, Minneapolis paper last weekend, I think, and a number of the communities around here are trying that out. We're always looking for a more cost-effective way of getting the word out. Most expensive vehicle we have is the bay window, but if we can get people used to doing things electronically, that's a lot less expensive. So we're going to try Twitter. What Twitter does, as I understand it, what the other cities are using it for, to alert people of, say, snow emergencies, or reminding them that the spring cleanup pickup is May 2nd, or the art fair is starting, or that kind of thing. Just getting the word out quickly and easily and not too expensively. So we're going to dig into it and see if it makes sense, and if it does, we'll try it out.
Ken, thank you again for your time, and we'll talk with you the next time around.
Thanks very much.
All right, goodbye.